This is the Coleman Instant Up 8-piece side entry tent. I'm going to show you how to set it up and pack it away today. Let's get started.
Hit it.
Ben from Snowy's here, folks, today with the Coleman Instant Up 8-piece side entry tent. It's part of the Silver Series range, but this has got an additional door or a long door down the side of the big awning, as well as entrances on the end. Weighs about 22 kilos, 120 centimeters in length, about 28 to 30 centimeters in height and depth. I'm going to show you how to set it up and pack it away today. I'll start with what's in the bag. So inside the bag, all secured with a couple of ties here, you get the fly sheet. This is all rolled up together when you take it out of the bag. This is all the awning poles that you need to set up the awnings around the tent. You get a bag of pegs with some other things in there. There is all the guy ropes you need and all the pegs. Now, they're not really heavy duty pegs. They're medium weight pegs. You could benefit from adding some extra heavier duty pegs to your setup. This is the central divider that divides the two rooms in half, runs down the center of the tent. And this is the main inner portion of the tent with the frame all integrated. Now, to get started setting it up, we'll put all this other stuff aside. We're going to spread this out on this ground sheet. I've got a ground sheet here. It's about just under 5 meters by about 3 meters, and I think it's going to be a little bit big for what we need, but we'll see how we go. So to lay your tent out, stand it upright this way. So this center hub here is pointing upwards, and you've got all these legs that you need to let fall down to the side. Don't force them, they should just fall down. And then you just want to twist it around to get the door in the right location to make sure it's facing the right way. So I've just got the tent oriented now. Now the doors, there's doors at each end, and then there's doors on one side. So I've got the long side here, and I can see the doorways here on this side. Now the wind's picking up a little bit here today, so we do need to be worried about how we set this up. I don't want to go and pitch the frame now while the wind's blowing, because it'll just pick the tent up and it'll get damaged. So I'm going to put 4 pegs in place around the base. Actually, I might put 6 pegs in place in all these points to hold it secure to the ground before we pop the frame up. Okay, I've got all 6 pegs in the base now, so the tent's secure even though it's picking up to be a bit windy now. This next bit by yourself can be a little bit awkward, so I've had a bit of a play around to try and work out the easiest way about it. Now, when you put the pegs in the base, you might find that these bottom sections of the legs have extended and locked into place. This little pin here is locked into place. Both this section and the upper section of the end legs lock into place, but what I recommend is leaving the bottom section collapsed and extending out this top section here so the pin at the top locks into place. Make sure both end portions of the frame are locked in at the top but not at the bottom before you try and pop it into place. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sections locked into place or extended. The lower portion of those poles are loose, so they're collapsed, and you can see the frame starting to take shape. So what I'll do now is grab these side poles and invert the knuckles and do the same with the end poles on both ends. And from here, we'll go to each corner and extend these legs out. Now you might find as you go that, like on the other side here, this knuckle has collapsed again. So just go around and pop them all back into place, extend it out, and they'll lock in. So I've extended the end 4 poles. Don't forget these center ones, lock them into place as well. Same on the other side. So that's the inner portion of the tent set up. We've got to throw the fly over the top and get it pegged into place because, as I said, the wind's picking up. So I've just taken a minute just to get the orientation of the fly right. Probably the easiest way to work it out is to find these windows at the back, because they're the only ones that don't have zips that go right to the base of the fly. I know they're the windows that go over the back of the tent. So if I scrunch this up now and throw it over the tent, once again, this will be easy with a second set of hands. We should be roughly oriented, and then we can wriggle it into place. So I've got the fly sitting in place. We need to secure the fly to the inner to give it stability. So if we fold this up on the corners here and find these tabs, wrap these around the frame. There's one at the top, and then if you work your way right down, there's another one at the bottom here that also wraps around the frame. And then at the very base of the tent, there's a plastic clip that goes through the D-ring at the bottom here. We do that on all 6 upright portions of the frame. Don't forget, on the last upright that's up under what will be the awning here, there is one more of these tabs on the fly sheet up under here to go around this pole here. The tent's starting to get a bit more stable now that the fly's attached, but we do need to put the pegs around the base and the guy rope still. Now the guy ropes are important for these tents. They are boxy in shape, so the wind catches them. So you want to make sure you've got the guy ropes in place all the time. Now there's 6 in total. There's 5 that you want to use all the time because the one in the middle on this side here is actually gets in the way of the awning, which we'll set up shortly. And when we put these in place, put them at a 45-degree angle out from the tent, as far out as you can. It's going to give the tent, the peg, the most holding power, and it's going to give the best support for the frame. So we've got the main tent set up now. What I want to do is set up the awnings. Now you get 7 awning poles with this tent here. One of them is slightly longer than the others because the front awning, which is a long awning, I'll set it up shortly, you can see it's got a longer pole in the middle, so it's peaked. But we can also set these end entrances up as awnings as well. So we've got enough awning poles to set all of that up. On the corners of these, there is a brass eyelet in which these spigots will fit through on the awning poles, like this. And we can set this up as a shaded entrance. We can do the same at the far end of the tent. We'll also have a shaded entrance at the front. For today, I'm going to set up this one and the front one. All right, so that's our awnings all set up. We can see we've got the front one set up here with the longer pole in the middle, so it creates a bit of a peak. We do have that extra guy rope here that we would put in if we didn't have this set up. I should probably actually just roll that up so that it sits up on top there, but we don't need that in this instance. And we're almost all set up. The last thing we need to do though is step inside the tent here, and there's a divider that goes in the middle. We'll clip into place to create 2 different sleeping areas. Now this divider just goes into the clips that are featured up, or there's loops on the inner tent here and little plastic toggles that go through those loops. So we just need to orient it so the zip sits in the middle. Now the top of the zip doesn't go all the way to the top. The bottom, we know is the bottom because the zip actually terminates at the bottom of the wall there. So this one clips in the center here. And there's 2 more on each side, one in the corner here and one at the very base. And that is how you set up the Coleman Instant Up 8P Silver Series side entry tent. Now whether you call it a side entry or a front entry, I guess is up to you. I've been referring to this as the front, but it's a pretty versatile tent. So you've got shade down this side and at each end. It was reasonably easy to set up by myself, certainly easier with a second set of hands. One other thing I'll mention is that it's quite windy here today, so I probably wouldn't leave these set up in the wind. We've just done it for demo purposes. Pack up is just as easy. First things, take all your awnings down and pegs around the base of the fly, roll that up, and then we can collapse the frame. So when you're taking it down, especially on a windy day, don't get too carried away and take all the pegs out of the inner tent yet. I've left the 4 corner pegs on, 6 pegs in around the base, so that this is still secure while the wind's blowing up until the point that we've got it collapsed down to the ground. Now I've got to get the fly off, so don't forget to undo the Velcro tabs that are up underneath the fly here, undo the clips on the corner. Got another Velcro tab up the top here, then we can slide the fly off and fold that up, ready to go in the bag. The next step, we've still got the pegs at the base. Next step is to collapse these legs down. So we go around to the silver button on each corner here, push that in and let the leg collapse down. Once we've done all 6 upright legs, we go to the 4 end cross poles here, or roof poles, collapse them down, and then we can push the pole in on itself, or push the frame, in on itself. So once we're at this point, all the pole sections are released, so they're sliding loose. We can now go around and invert these knuckles in on themselves. So the poles all collapse down and are sitting low to the ground. At this point, I'm more comfortable taking the pegs out of the corners so we can roll the inner up. And the next step is to gather all the poles up into the middle. So if we start at one end, pull all the poles in, collapse them up, slide them up as you go. And we need to get them all to the center. Just be aware that they might lock back into place as you pull, so just keep an eye on that. Now I've got all 6 uprights in my hand here in the middle. I'm going to roll it on its side now and just take a few minutes to kind of flatten all the fabric out. If you take your time to do that, it's going to roll up much smaller and go in the bag a lot easier. Now we've got the inner tied up with our straps. Now we've just got to put them in the bag. You could roll the fly up inside this if you liked. I actually find it easy just to put them in separately. And that went back in the bag reasonably easy. The more you take, or more time you take to roll it up tightly, the easier it goes back in the bag. There's a couple of little compression straps here to keep it all secure. And that is how you set up and pack away the Coleman Instant Up 8P side entry tent. A great family camping tent. Shade at both ends and right down the side. You can grab them online at snowies.com.au at our lowest prices every day. Got any questions, let us know down in the comments below. Subscribe to our channel, we'll send you all of our latest and greatest information, or check out some other Coleman videos like this one down here.